Court rejecting Airtel Voda Idea AGR waiver pleas is concerned. Remember, the top court did give their verdict on the same, but what will that impact on Voda Idea be and the file for insolvency post the financial 26 year? That's the big question. Will the Supreme Court rejection dent telcos' financials? Now, to answer all of that and a lot more, I'm given to understand Sanjay Kapoor, entrepreneur as well as TMT advisor and board member, joins us this afternoon. Mr. Kapoor, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here on ET Now. How do you look at this? And more importantly, what does it mean for them next?
Well, first of all, a good afternoon to all your viewers. This is indeed a precarious situation for VIL, but I'm sure from here, they still have government to fall back on and ask them if they can intervene like the Supreme Court suggested. Though it might be a little difficult because the government already owns just under 50% of VIL, and the moment they cross that hurdle of 50%, then it virtually becomes a public sector undertaking. And does government have the wherewithal to manage this along with BSNL? Will be a big challenge. Plus, if they do anything around the AGR, then they need to create a level playing field for both Jio and Airtel as well. So anything that they do to give some respite will be prospective in nature, according to me, because otherwise there'll not be a level playing field. So it might benefit Airtel and VIL, for example, if it's retrospective, but it'll put Jio to a disadvantage who have lesser stuff to settle around the AGR. So it is a tricky situation, and this does put VIL in a situation where they are constrained to borrow from the markets and banks. There isn't any large investor who's come and shown any great interest in this asset. And now, if the government is not willing to support them from here on, then the true effort that the government has made to keep India a viable oligopoly will definitely cause a concern for the market structure.
Definitely, it is a cause of concern. But Sanjay, I do remember that in the plea which was submitted to Supreme Court, it was clearly mentioned that they do not have funds for the whole financial year. Hence, this kind of application was made in Supreme Court. I want to understand from you, what are the options which are left for Vodafone apart from asking from government?
Well, if the government does not support henceforth, then the only option is to either borrow money from the banks or have a strategic or financial investor come in. I'll be very surprised if VIL has already not knocked all doors on the private part of investment, both in India and overseas. I think they've done it. There are two existing market operators in terms of Airtel and Jio who are gaining and nibbling into the market share of VIL irrespective. So according to me, it does not make any sense for those guys to jump and say, we will merge with this company or make this company merge with us, because they're gaining at the cost of VIL any which way. And now to find a global operator to come in has another tricky situation here, because we are aware that because of the more frequent capital cycles and the diminishing longevity of technology, the third operator and the fourth operator are becoming virtually unviable in most parts of the world. So if there's a large investor and he looks at India and the third operator in India to invest, and third operator by a big margin now, because the top two operators have 80% of the market. Now, why would he do that? Because the moment you begin to do that, you are putting your bets on a third operator, which anyway is a concern with the frequent capital cycles. We have a status quo on the technology today that everybody has access to 5G, and tomorrow if 6G comes in, and of course, alongside the enabling technologies like AI and several others, a lot of money has to be pumped in. So in a business which is so cash hungry, so investment hungry, it might be good money chasing bad money. So, I really see the odds stacked against VIL at the moment, even from the private sector investment perspective, unless and the government tomorrow says that all government dues are written off, and why will they do it for only one operator and not for others?
Right, as you mentioned about the lenders, so recently you would have seen the news that they have reached out to PFC, they had reached out to REC as well. But what we understand currently, lenders do not have that confidence because of the prevailing scenarios. Even Supreme Court and government is not giving the reprieve which they are looking for. Now, in that scenario, insolvency comes as an option or not?
Well, we have to keep two things in mind. You know, whether we like it or not, telecom is a mark-to-market business. You have to compete with your immediate competitors uh, to be able to bring about a business that survives in the long run. And unfortunately, on a mark-to-market scenario, the two operators have really distanced themselves from VIL in terms of market share, in terms of capital adequacy, in terms of full capitalization, stronger balance sheet. And therefore, it has become really very difficult for VIL to stay competitive. So even if they were to garner some funds, competitiveness and returning the capital will always be under question. And under those circumstances, what is the end point? If you can't make it survive, if you're not liquid, and I have been reading some news, about saying that they have cash till 2026 or something. I don't know what the reality is. They'd be knowing it. We don't know, what their internal situation is. But absolutely, going to NCLT probably is the last straw. If you have no other way, then what do you do?
Mr. Kapoor, as you point that out, in terms of what are the broader implications that we're looking at in terms of this verdict for the telecom industry?
Well, as far as so there were only two guys who were looking at this verdict. Apparently, Airtel and Voda Idea. Of course, there were some others, Tatas and all from their past. But I think the one that gets impacted is VIL. I don't think this causes any concern to Airtel on a business continuity basis. Airtel is very liquid. They can borrow money at will. People will be willing to invest. So I think it really, truly impacts VIL, who are competing in the market, wanting to survive, keep the oligopoly alive, and it matters to them the most.
We have discussed more on Vodafone front, but if you look from a lens of Bharti Airtel, how do you see this news? Even Bharti Airtel joined the plea of Vodafone in the court.
Of course, I think that is also an expression of a level playing field. Bharti is expressing that, you need to provide a level playing field for everybody. If you provide or give something to VIL, it must apply to other operators as much, which is the statement probably they're making. But if this does not come through, does it cause competitiveness issues or liquidity issues to Airtel or business continuity issues? Of course not. They have a very strong balance sheet, a very strong position. They're gaining on market share. They're, along with Jio at a pole position, fighting hard. And so I don't see that it causes any great concern other than making a statement that, look, if they can get it, we must get it also. It makes sense for us to get it as well. So I think the concern is for VIL. The concern is not for Airtel.
Mr. Kapoor, I appreciate you taking the time out, joining us this afternoon on ET Now, sharing with us your perspective as to how you're looking at this. But for the moment,